I'm in the big leagues, so they don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly.
What's up, USFL fans, football fans, but most importantly, Houston Gamblers fans? Welcome to the last official Gamblers Table Talk for Season 2. Man, yeah, it was a good ride. It was a fun season. 5-5. It's a little bittersweet. Almost feels like a tie. It's like kissing your sister. But it's 2 wins better than we had last year. We had a winning record. You can say what you want about 5-5. I call it a winning record. And we showed life. The league as a whole showed growth. The organization showed growth. I think a lot of what Coach Bob and his methodology in the players that he was looking for, the players that he was trying to get, young players with potential that had been overlooked for whatever reason, one or another, like these things worked. They all worked. Players were panning out. They were picking up players throughout the season. We even got a drafted player who came in and started until he got hurt. So there were a lot of good things in season 2 that were exciting as Gamblers fans. And, we had one of the biggest blowouts this season, absolutely destroying the Stars. It just didn't fall our way. And I think it says a lot that if we could have just beaten the Showboats, we probably could have been in. If we had just beaten the Breakers the last week of the season. But even then, the Panthers somehow pulled out a win and scraped their way into the playoffs, which I didn't think was possible. I know I picked the Panthers a lot. I didn't think that was possible, but the Panthers won. And so the fact that the Panthers beat the Stars, the Gamblers couldn't have gotten in anyway. So kind of a little bit of solace in that fact. It helps a little bit, but whatever. Now, the next couple episodes, this is the official end of season 2, but obviously I'm going to keep doing table talk. Y'all watch, I'm going to do it. So the next couple episodes are going to be, rehashings, picking certain players, whatever. I'll figure it out. But this time, today, the All USFL team dropped. Now, what we did on the USFL network is we also picked, before we saw theirs, and we dropped it 2 hours before them. We dropped our All USFL team, but we dropped team 1 and second team. So we wanted to spread the love. We think there's 400 players in this league. One team just isn't enough. 2 wide receivers, 1 quarterback. Come on, man. So we went and we put together our All USFL first and second team. Now, first, let me read off the list of the Gamblers because the USFL was nice enough to email me a list of all the All USFL players by team. So when we look at the Houston Gamblers, we have 4. We have Mark Thompson, who was a lock. He was in the MVP race. We have Justin Hall, who showed some games. I mean, he was hands down the best receiver in the league. Then other games we wouldn't utilize him as much. It's a lot harder as a wide receiver because you can't just get the ball in your hands by a handoff. You're not a quarterback where you get the ball in your hands every single offensive play. So it's harder as a receiver, but glad to see that he got in there. And then Avery Genesee, who once I'll bring up the USFL network, All USFL, you'll see Avery Genesee did not get on ours. I tried to get him on there, but it was, tooth and nail, everybody fighting for their players, having to fully debate it, figure out who's the best fit for each one. Avery Genesee, part of that you probably think was PFF grades because Avery Genesee was top 5 gamblers in PFF grades basically every week. So that was a big thing for him. Now, love that he got on there. The one that surprised me, which got on our second team, but got on the All USFL actual official list, was Manny Bunch. And I absolutely love seeing that. Manny was playing lights out. He had double-digit tackles in half the games he played this season. I think he should have been first team on ours. I'm glad he got first team on the overall USFL for the actual league because the only thing that knocked him out of our first team was that he missed the last 2 games with an injury. And I think that stinks. I get it. But just because someone has an injury and goes down doesn't mean that they weren't playing at a high level for literally 80% of the season. So I'm really glad that he made the All USFL list. Congratulations to Mark, Justin, Avery, and Manny. That's fantastic, man. Now let's move on. Let's look at our USFL, All USFL. Man, this is I'm too big. Here we go. There we go. All right. So the Gamblers that made our first team offense for All USFL was Natai Rogers. Loved just having him in there. The dude was an absolute beast. I believe he was the favorite player. If you guys go watch, I was on the Houston podcast, their YouTube channel. They cover the XFL, USFL, baseball, betting, all that stuff. The host, his favorite player was actually Natai Rogers. So I think it's really cool. He got the nod. He's on the first team. And then, of course, Mark Thompson. You know, Mark is going to show up on that list. You have to know that he's going to show up on that list. I wish that he had balled out a little more. He could have, more of a justification for MVP, but I digress. All right, so we go first team defense. Now, when we look at the defense, no gamblers, which is upsetting to me because when we went through the first iteration, which I believe was after week 8, so we had 2 weeks left, we had Ronheen Bingham in there instead of Henri Saint Amour, and we had Manny Bunch in there. So it's upsetting that they fell off. But I mean, after the end of the season, when you saw that the Maulers and the Panthers literally scraped into the playoffs just by their defense, it makes sense that they are going to take up 80% of this roster, right? So I understand that. Move on to special teams. No specialists here. I get it. Derek Dillon tore us up. He's a great kick returner. Isaiah Henney, great. Matt Coughlin, if you talk to my boy Lowe, he had the best field goal percentage and he had big moments. Yeah, good for that guy, man. And then I was a little surprised that Colby Wadman got in there because we had Brock Miller. And then after seeing Matt Mangle set the record, you think that he might get in there. And then long snapper, that's mostly just PFF grades. So I totally get that. Now we move on to second team offense. Gamblers are on the board here. We got Nick Buchanan, who is, in my opinion, the best center in the league is Nick Buchanan. Then we got Tyler Higbee. He got the nod. I wish that Avery Genesee had got on here. I tried for it. But when you look at it, Joshua Dunlop and Jacob Burton, they both just had like a couple more points per grade. So for the PFF grades, Avery Genesee was one of the highest graded players on the Gamblers almost every week. But Joshua Dunlop and Jacob Burton had just kind of not as many grades, but they had higher grades. So they won out. I lost that battle. That's okay. But I got Justin Hall on here. So very excited about that. Now we go to the defense. We got 3 more Gamblers. We got Ronheen Bingham. We got Manny Bunch. And we got Kalen Tolson. All 3 people absolutely deserve this. I mean, Kalen was leading the team in tackles. I'm not completely sure if he ended the season leading the team in tackles, but the dude was killing it. Manny Bunch, I mean, towards the end of the season, he was single-handedly keeping that defense off the field. The guy was a beast. And then Ronheen Bingham was, fighting to be the league leader in tackles or sacks for a couple weeks. So absolutely deserving. And then you move over and we got Justin Hall at punt returner. Justin Hall was sneakily good at punt return. Now, everybody wants to say, touchdowns. No, Justin Hall, every time he was fighting for extra yards, he had yard after contact. He had a good average on his punt returns. So absolutely love to see that. It's exciting. We got, All USFL came out today. We got the USFL Network, All USFL, and the season's over. And it's sad. And I think the hardest part is I talked to Donald Payne last season, and I thanked him because I said, I understand that we're not going to get this defense again. We're not going to get Chris Odom, Will Likely, and Donald Payne on the same defense, maybe ever again, ever. And that's just the bittersweet part of the spring leagues is that if somebody does well, they move on to the NFL and they don't come back. Will Likely, Donald Payne, they went to the XFL because they thought maybe if they started a little bit earlier and, they had a little more time when they finished their season, they could get into an NFL training camp. And then Chris Odom he signed with the Browns. I mean, the dude has a full NFL contract, so we're not going to see them back again because if you do well enough in this league, you don't come back. And that's sad, but it's also incredibly happy because that's the point. We want this to be a great stepping stone where you come, you look good, and you move up and you go back to the show. So I absolutely love it. It's just a little bittersweet that we don't get to see these guys ever again, and we don't get to see the same offense, the same defense that we did this season. So it's special. You just got to kind of take it in and rewatch those games and think that was a cool season. And then hopefully season 3, we come back, we restock, we're better than ever, and we go from 3 wins to 5 wins to playoffs, man. Come on. Someday I'll get to see this team at the championship game. Just not this year, and that's okay. But it was a fun one. It was a great season. I'll see y'all during the offseason. I'll keep this going every time some news drops for the Gamblers, whether we sign someone, whether we find out we're going to Houston, new coaches, whatever happens. I'll drop a video every time something happens. So until next time, until there's news, this has been Ace. See y'all later, man.
I'm in the big leagues, so they don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag.